Now, as the government seeks an IMF balance of payment program, it is emerging that the bailout will have immense consequences on Ghana's oil sector, which has over the past decade produced less than 200,000 barrels of oil per day. Energy strategist Dr. Yusif Sulemana tells Joy Business that the program has the potential of shoring up investments to the upstream sector, which has been unattractive actually, to investors due to depleted reserves. He joins us via Zoom with more on his analysis. We're grateful that you could join us, Doctor. Ghana's engagement with the IMF to show up investment in the petroleum sector, how exactly can this play out?
Thank you very much, Charles, and good afternoon to you and to your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Thank you for having me. So, yes, this is the way I'm looking at it. If you look at the upstream sector, in fact, both upstream and downstream, over the last decade, you notice that we haven't been able to cross the 200,000 of production, 200,000 barrels per stream day of production. And so it is not surprising that as an oil producer and exporter or exporting nation, at this moment in time that oil is enjoying a boom cycle, so to say, we are running to IMF for bailout. That is just telling us that we haven't been able to drive the required benefits that we needed, or that we should have been able to drive in championing this hydrocarbon production. And what is lacking over the years or over the decade is the fact that investment is not actually gone. The right quantum of investment hasn't gone to champion, production into our fields. And also when oil production goes along up to 10 years, fields are bound to deplete. So you need to sustain an investment first to maintain the depleting field, and then also to churn out to potentially look for new reserve. That has not happened. And this also coming to it at a time when we have a capital discipline of a sort, where investment into the hydrocarbon is becoming constrained for the fact that we have that parallel competition between that of hydrocarbon and renewable. So in that case, that is going to be very difficult. And so if you look at our physicals prior to this IMF bailout, our physicals and our fiscal policies and programs hasn't been robust and hasn't been very good. So I feel that those conditions had potential to drive away investors. And now if you are seeking IMF bailout at this point in time that we are doing, what I think will happen is that two things could happen. One thing is the fact that you could get some direct capital injection into your economy, where you can direct it, provided the conditions are very flexible for you to direct it to strategic areas that can propel your growth. Then the second aspect is the fact that investors may begin to gain some confidence into the economy because they might see that, okay, now there are kind of some checks and balances that are put in place. So in that context, once investment gains confidence to the economy, I believe it might end up propelling and then beefing up interest of the investor community into the sector that is already suffering from depleting investment.
Indeed, but on the flip side of this expectation, this positive expectation, is the concern about a possible move by the bailouts to privatize various underperforming state institutions in the downstream sector. We're talking of the Tema Oil Refinery and even the ECG, if push comes to shove. How can this really play out, especially from a perspective, and what could be the impact on their, execution?
Yeah, so that's a fact, Charles, and that's one of the things that the government should be expecting. This should be some of the conditions, or this is likely going to be some of the conditionality that will come with it. But for me, I always maintain the fact that if institutions are not performing, even if not 100% privatization, I think we can make partial privatization of a sort. And I've always called for, especially for the fact that in a refinery like this, government has not gotten that needed capital to bring the refinery back to profitability mode or to life. And so when in recent times that we had this decimal capital deal and other things coming to champion investment into the refinery, I saw that as a welcoming news. So yes, if conditionalities are that non-performing institutions or SOEs could be privatized, I think it's something that the government should look at it in a positive light. Because at the end of the day, if they are not performing and it is only privatization that can revitalize these institutions, why not? That should be the way to go. However, I think those critical institutions like ECG and others, it's always areas that government will not like to privatize. Because as long as it goes to private hands, what will happen is that the kind of subsidies that were inherent into the operations of those institutions, the subsidies will go, no doubt about that. And going of subsidies to mean that to be skyrocketing of tariffs, so that this is the way it's going to play out.
Indeed.
So, but at the end of the day, what should happen is that efficiency should drive the day. I mean, efficiency in this institution is what is paramount. Privatization will bring efficiency into this institution. I think it's the way to go. Yeah.
And we're going to be expecting the team in Ghana tomorrow ahead of their meeting on Wednesday. So we'll see how that plays out, especially when the very first tranche of discussions will begin on Wednesday. But